ABC News joins us. Good morning, Brad Garrett.
Good morning, McGraw.
All right, lots to get to with Paul Manafort, including the story in the Washington Post this morning that now has emails saying that he sent some Russian oligarch during the campaign. If you need private briefings, we can accommodate. This, according to the Washington Post, with emails that have been turned over to Mueller's office. It seems like, and explain this to us, what's going on? Are they going after Paul Manafort? Are they putting the screws to him? What's going on?
Well, I think there's little doubt that at some point he's going to get charged with something. Now, whether it relates to his relationship with the campaign, that remains to be seen. But clearly, I've read a number of experts discuss money laundering and tax evasion, because if you think about even half of the stories are true about the millions that he has taken in from different third world locations, in particular Ukraine, he may well have some issues in those money transactions. So we'll have to see. But the short answer, McGraw, is I think he's going to end up being a key player in wherever this investigation goes.
You were at the FBI. You know how these things work. Everybody wants to know if they charge him, are they going for the bigger fish in Donald Trump? What to look for? What should we look for if that's the ultimate goal of Robert Mueller?
Well, you're going to see. Here's the way it works, McGraw. You basically sort of build your fortress around the mountain, and then you start moving up the mountain. And you want to go and try to get people like Manafort on board because, there is some belief, I don't know if this is true, but there's some belief that one of the reasons Manafort got involved in the campaign because of his Russian connection. So, is that true? Who knows if it's true? But the point being, he is probably the most long-term conduit to the Russians just because of these relationships with oligarchs, with the former president of the Ukraine. I mean, it sort of goes on and on. And so he's a real key component as to how did this really work and where was it connected.
We also learned this week that there wasn't a sort of wake-up call by the FBI at, early morning raid. It was a pick the lock raid. Explain what's the difference and why did they go in without a knock, and why did they go in and bang the door down?
Well, for a number of reasons. One is that you, first of all, have to convince the judge that you should do a no-knock warrant. So he or she has to give you basically permission because protocol is that you knock. So they must have convinced the judge, look, we're concerned, and I don't know this to be true, but it's based on experience, that he was going to destroy, or they believed he could destroy evidence quickly before they could get into the house and basically subdue him while they did the search. The other two reasons you do no knocks is somebody picking up the phone and calling somebody else to destroy evidence. The third, I will tell you in white-collar cases, I don't think it applies to Manafort, is suicide. Is that there are times when white-collar folks get arrested because, virtually their whole financial career is on the line. They try to hurt themselves. So those are the three no-knock reasons. But I think the first one really applies to Manafort in reference to destruction of evidence.
We also heard this week that there was a government wiretap on Paul Manafort both before the campaign and I guess either during the campaign, which I don't know. It seems like a lot of people just sort of brushed over that. I thought it was pretty unbelievable that you had one government spying on another candidate's campaign manager. It's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, but think about it in regard to the type of warrant that it was, McGraw. It was a FISA warrant, which is a foreign surveillance warrant. So the only way you can get those, because it's a specialized court made up of U.S. District Court judges, that somebody, in this case, I think the belief was that Manafort may have been acting on behalf of a foreign government, sort of like their agent. Well, you legally can't do that without permission. I do think that's what triggered the first FISA warrant in 2014. Apparently, they got new information and decided to reapply to the FISA court and get a new FISA warrant. Again, focused on that, what I just said, focused on you, maybe Manafort, acting as an agent or a representative of a foreign government.
How much do you think Donald Trump's tweet, when he tweeted along the lines, "I can't believe the Obama administration would wiretap us," do you think that is a correlation to this story about Paul Manafort being wiretapped?
Well, maybe, because Manafort has an apartment in Trump Towers. So the idea that during this campaign, if the FISA warrant was up, then, and if he was in the apartment in New York, then his phone was tapped potentially.
Right.
So maybe that's the connection.
Any idea, any signals that this is getting close to the end, the middle? Where are we in this Robert Mueller investigation?
I don't think you're even to the middle yet, and I will tell you why. Because barring some revelation that somebody just falls on their sword and gives them all sorts of documents and information and phone calls, etc., is that I think a number of the things that special counsel wants to prove, the evidence is not so easy as a subpoena, an interview, or arresting somebody. I think it's what conversations were had informally overseas, things that weren't documented. In other words, if you and I met overseas and talked about X, you and I didn't record it, it probably didn't get recorded. You and I were the only two people there. So it's those, that's an example of it takes a while to figure out, well, did this meeting actually occur, and what was said, what was promised, et cetera, et cetera. So those things take sometimes a long time to sort out.
Brad Garrett, ABC News crime and terrorism analyst. Great insight today. Have a good day.
Take care, McGraw.
6:20.